You think you can embarrass my business partner? You think you're too good for his son? Let go of me. You're insane. I'll teach you some respect, you ungrateful brat. Stop. Someone help. He's dragging me. Shut your mouth. You'll do what I say or you'll regret. My stepdad dragged me across the gravel driveway, by my hair for turning down his business partner's son. Hi, I'm Brooklyn. Today I'm going to tell you my story. But before I continue, please like, share, and subscribe to hear more stories like this. I was 23 when my mom married Garrett Paulson. She'd been widowed for 5 years after my dad died in a construction accident, and I guess she was lonely. Garrett seemed charming at first, successful too. He owned a commercial cleaning company and always wore expensive suits. My mom, Diane, fell hard and fast. They got married within 8 months of meeting. I was living at home while finishing my business degree at the local university. Money was tight, and staying with mom made sense. When Garrett moved in, things shifted. He had this way of taking over everything, redecorating, changing house rules, acting like he'd always been there. Brooklyn, we need to talk about your contribution to this household, Garrett said one morning at breakfast, about 2 months after the wedding. I help mom with groceries when I can. And I do chores, I replied. That's not enough. You're an adult. You should be paying rent. My mom looked uncomfortable. Garrett, we discussed this. She's still in school. She has a part-time job. She can contribute something. I started paying $300 a month, which was nearly half of what I made at the campus bookstore. My mom apologized privately, but she never stood up to him. I wanted to push back harder, but I didn't want to cause problems for her. She seemed happy, or at least I thought she did. Looking back, I can see the signs I missed. The way Garrett would criticize her cooking even though he never cooked himself. How he'd make decisions about the house without consulting her. The way he'd talk over her in conversations with his friends. But when you're in it, you rationalize things. You tell yourself every relationship has its issues. The real problem started when Garrett's business partner, Vincent Roach, came over for dinner one night with his son, Damien. Vincent and Garrett had partnered up to expand the cleaning business into 3 neighboring cities. They were making serious money, or so Garrett constantly reminded us. Damien was 26, worked for his dad's company in accounting, and had the personality of wet cardboard. He spent the entire dinner talking about cryptocurrency investments and his new Audi. He barely asked me any questions, just talked at me about his accomplishments. Brooklyn's studying business administration, my mom said, trying to include me in the conversation. Oh yeah? You should come work for us after graduation. We could use someone young with fresh ideas, Vincent said. Maybe, I replied politely, though I had zero interest in working for any company Garrett was involved with. Damien looked me up and down in a way that made my skin crawl. You single? I'm focused on school right now. That's not what I asked, he said with a smirk that probably worked on other women, but did nothing for me. Then the answer is I'm not interested in dating. After they left, Garrett pulled me aside. Damien's interested in you. Vincent mentioned it. This could be really good for our family. Good for our family? I just met him. He comes from money, Brooklyn. He's educated, has a future. You could do a lot worse. I'm not interested in being set up like some business transaction. His face hardened. You're being ungrateful. I'm trying to help you. I don't need that kind of help. You need every help you can get. You're 23, living at home, working retail. Where exactly do you think your life is heading? The comment stung because I had my own insecurities about my situation. But I wasn't desperate enough to date someone just because his family had money. Over the next few weeks, Garrett kept pushing. He'd invite Vincent and Damien over constantly, always engineering situations where Damien and I would be alone. Damien asked me out 3 times. I declined politely each time, giving different excuses, hoping he'd take the hint. What's wrong with you? Garrett cornered me in the kitchen after the 3rd rejection. Do you know how this makes me look? Vincent thinks you're playing games. I'm not playing anything. I'm just not interested. You're being selfish. This partnership is important to me, and you're jeopardizing it with your attitude. My mom tried to mediate. Garrett, she can't force feelings. Maybe they're just not compatible. Stay out of this, Diane. Your daughter needs to learn how the world works. The world doesn't work by forcing people into relationships they don't want, I shot back. No, but it works by understanding opportunity when you see it. Damien could give you a life your mother and I never could. I don't want a life handed to me by some guy I don't even like. Things escalated when Damien showed up at the bookstore where I worked. He'd never mentioned knowing where I worked, which meant either Garrett told him or he'd looked it up, and neither option was okay. Hey, Brooklyn, thought I'd stop by and see if you wanted to grab coffee. Damien, I'm working, and I've told you I'm not interested in dating right now. Come on, just coffee. What's the harm? The harm is, I've said no multiple times and you keep pushing. His friendly demeanor cracked. You know, my dad's been talking to Garrett. They think you're being really rude. I don't care what they think. I don't owe you anything. He leaned closer, lowering his voice. You're making problems for your family. Garrett's business depends on keeping my dad happy. Then maybe Garrett should focus on actual business instead of pimping out his stepdaughter. Damien's face went red. You're going to regret saying that. He left without another word, and I knew I'd crossed a line. But I was tired of being polite while everyone ignored what I wanted. That night, all hell broke loose. I came home around 8 after my shift in evening class. Garrett was waiting in the living room, and I could tell he'd been drinking. There was a half-empty bottle of bourbon on the coffee table. Vincent called me today, said Damien went by your work and you humiliated him. I didn't humiliate anyone. I told him I'm not interested like I've done before. You called me a pimp? You told Damien I was pimping you out? My mom appeared from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a dish towel. Garrett, please, let's just calm down and talk about this. I'm done talking. This little brat has disrespected me, disrespected Vincent, and now she's spreading lies about me. They're not lies. You've been pushing me toward Damien since the day I met him, trying to force something for your business deal. He stood up fast, swaying slightly. Everything I've done has been for this family. I took you and your mother in, gave you a home, and this is how you repay me? You didn't take us in. You married my mom and moved into her house. The slap came out of nowhere. My cheek exploded in pain and I stumbled backward into the wall. My mom screamed, Garrett, no! What are you doing? Teaching her respect? He grabbed my arm, yanking me toward the front door. His grip was iron, fingers digging into my bicep hard enough to bruise. I tried to pull away, but he was stronger. Let go of me! He opened the door and shoved me outside. I tripped down the porch steps, catching myself on the railing. When I tried to go back inside, he blocked the doorway, his body filling the frame. You want to act like you're too good for this family? Then get out. This is my mother's house. You can't kick me out. That's when he grabbed my hair. I felt his fist close around my ponytail, and then he was dragging me. I screamed, my scalp burning, my hands clawing at his grip. The gravel driveway tore into my knees and palms as he pulled me down toward the street. Pain shot through me with every inch, sharp rocks cutting into my skin. You think you can embarrass my business partner? You think you're too good for his son? Let go of me! You're insane! I'll teach you some respect, you ungrateful brat! Stop! Someone help! He's dragging me! Shut your mouth! You'll do what I say or you'll regret! My mom finally ran out and grabbed his arm. Garrett, stop! You're hurting her! Stop it right now! A neighbor, Mr. Chen from 2 houses down, was suddenly there too, still in his work clothes. Hey! What's going on? Let her go! Garrett released my hair, breathing hard. I scrambled away, my hands and knees bleeding, my scalp throbbing. Mr. Chen helped me up while his wife called 911 from their doorway. You're crazy, I said, touching my head where clumps of hair had been ripped out. My fingers came away bloody. Get off my property, Garrett snarled. It's not your property, my mom said quietly, and something in her voice had changed. It's mine. The house is in my name. My first husband left it to me. The police arrived within 10 minutes. I gave a statement, showed them my injuries. They took photos of everything. The officer, a woman named Deputy Martinez, was gentle but thorough. Has he done anything like this before? She asked. No, but he's been controlling, demanding. This is the first time it got physical. That you know of, Deputy Martinez said, glancing at my mom, who stood pale and shaking on the porch. They arrested Garrett for assault and domestic violence. My mom didn't say a word in his defense. She just watched as they put him in the back of the patrol car, her arms wrapped around herself. At the hospital, they documented everything. The lacerations on my knees and palms, the bruising on my scalp, the missing hair, the handprint on my face. A nurse gave me a pamphlet about domestic violence resources. I filed for a restraining order the next morning with my mom beside me. My mom was devastated but resolute. "I'm filing for divorce. I can't believe I let him do that to you. I should have stopped this months ago." "He fooled both of us, Mom." "No, I saw signs. I just didn't want to admit I'd made another mistake. After your father, I thought Garrett was my second chance." "You'll have other chances, real ones." The divorce proceedings revealed things we hadn't known. Garrett had been hiding debt, lots of it. The business expansion with Vincent was funded almost entirely by loans Garrett had taken out personally, using inflated projections. Vincent had put in significantly less money, and their partnership agreement gave Vincent majority control. Garrett had basically bet everything on the expansion working. When word spread about Garrett's arrest, Vincent distanced himself immediately. He dissolved the partnership, leaving Garrett holding all the debt and none of the expanded business. The cleaning company collapsed within 3 months. Garrett's original clients, the ones who'd kept the business afloat, heard about the assault and quietly took their contracts elsewhere. Garrett tried to contest the divorce, claiming he deserved half of my mom's house and savings. His lawyer argued he'd contributed to the household. My mom's lawyer destroyed that argument with bank records showing Garrett had actually drained their joint account by $20,000 for his failed business venture without telling her. He spent my money trying to impress his business partner while demanding rent from my daughter, my mom told the mediator. He contributed nothing but debt and violence. The criminal case was straightforward. Multiple witnesses, medical documentation, and Mr. Chen's testimony sealed it. He was convicted of assault and sentenced to 18 months, with 3 years probation after. But the real consequences went deeper. Garrett's arrest made local news because of the business angle and because Mr. Chen's wife had taken video on her phone of the aftermath. His reputation was destroyed. The clients he did have left dropped him. Vincent gave interviews painting himself as an innocent partner who'd been deceived, which wasn't entirely true, but it protected Vincent's interests. Damien called me once during all this. "This is your fault. My dad lost money because of you." "No, your dad lost money because he partnered with an abusive criminal. That's on both of them. You ruined everything because you couldn't just go on a few dates." "I ruined everything? Your dad and Garrett tried to trade me like property for a business deal. How about you blame the actual people responsible?" He hung up. I heard later that Vincent's company took a hit too. Not because of financial losses, but because people didn't want to work with someone who'd been so closely associated with Garrett. The video had made rounds on local social media. Vincent's name was attached to the story. Vincent ended up selling and retiring early, reportedly at a significant loss. I graduated that spring with my degree. My mom and I moved to a smaller house in a better neighborhood, selling the old place because neither of us wanted the memories. She went back to work as a nurse, something she'd quit when she married Garrett because he'd said she didn't need to work. "I lost myself," she told me one night over pizza in our new kitchen. "I thought having someone would make life easier, but I stopped trusting my own judgment. We both learned from it. You stood up for yourself. I should have done that from the start." I got a job at a marketing firm, entry level but with room to grow. On my first day, my boss, a woman named Larissa, asked about the scar on my palm from the gravel. "Long story," I said. "I've got time if you ever want to share it." Eventually I did. Larissa had her own history with a controlling ex. We became friends beyond just co-workers. She taught me things about setting boundaries in professional settings, about recognizing manipulation tactics, about trusting my instincts. 2 years later, I ran into Damien at a coffee shop downtown. He looked rough, tired, dark circles under his eyes, cheaper clothes than he used to wear. I almost left, but he saw me first. "Brooklyn, hey." "Damien. Look, I wanted to apologize for how I acted, for everything. I was young and stupid and listened to my dad too much. Okay? That's it? Just okay? What do you want me to say? Your apology doesn't change what happened. You and your dad and Garrett treated me like an object. I don't forgive that. I'm trying to make amends here. I don't need your amends. I needed you to respect me back then, and you didn't. We're done. I walked out. Some people think forgiveness is healing, but sometimes the healing is in walking away and never looking back. Garrett got out of prison after 14 months for good behavior. I heard through mutual acquaintances that he moved 2 states away, working odd jobs, still bitter. My mom's restraining order was permanent. He tried to send her a letter once, apologizing and asking for another chance. She burned it without reading past the first line. I don't need his sorry, she said. I need him gone. My mom started dating again eventually, but carefully this time. She went to therapy, worked on herself, learned to recognize red flags. I did too. We talked about patterns we'd ignored, about how Garrett had isolated her from friends, about how he'd made her doubt herself. He told me you were difficult, my mom admitted one session, that you were stubborn and needed guidance. I believed him sometimes instead of believing you. You believe me now. That's what matters. Life moved forward. I got promoted twice at the marketing firm, moved into my own apartment downtown, dated people who respected boundaries. I had a relationship that lasted a year with someone who understood when I said no to something, I meant it. It ended amicably when he took a job in another state, but it taught me what healthy looked like. Every now and then I'd touch the scar on my palm or catch my reflection and see the slight unevenness in my hairline where it grew back differently. Reminders, but not anchors. I wasn't defined by what Garrett did. I was defined by how I responded. 3 years after the assault, I was promoted to marketing director. At 28, I was the youngest person in that role at the firm. Larissa, who'd become a mentor and friend, took me out to celebrate. You know what I admire about you? She said over champagne. You didn't let what happened make you smaller. A lot of people would have. I got lucky. I had support. You had strength. Support helps, but you had to choose to use it. I thought about that a lot, about choice. Garrett had tried to take my choices away, to make me into what he needed for his business deals, and when I refused, he'd tried to break me. Instead, he'd broken himself. The best revenge wasn't some elaborate plan. It was watching Garrett's life crumble under the weight of his own choices, while I built something better. He tried to control me, to use me, and ended up losing everything. His business, his marriage, his freedom, his reputation. All because he couldn't accept that I had the right to say no. I lost some blood and hair on gravel that night, but I gained something more important, the absolute certainty that I'd never let anyone treat me that way again. Would you have pressed charges immediately, or would you have given your stepdad a chance to apologize first?